A class trip to a button factory may not be tons of fun, but in my book, it's better than math class any day. And this one class trip had its surprises. For one thing, while the 32 of us and Miss Creason were waiting inside the lobby of the big old building, we could hear people arguing. It seemed like somebody had forgotten to announce the 7th grade class of Peabody Christian School. Then this lady came out of an office. She was wearing a white coat over her clothes. "Welcome to Peabody Buttons Incorporated," she said, like nothing was wrong. She smiled at us. "Boys and girls, I'm your tour guide. Walk this way, and please keep your hands and clothes at a safe distance from the machinery." All of us girls scrunched our skirts in with our hands, and the class followed her out into the factory. At first, it was fun to watch the big automatic presses going up and down and in and out, but I got a little thirsty, so I looked around and spotted a water fountain over in a corner. I decided to get a drink. I leaned over the old cooler, swung my hair out of the way, and took a long drink. Then, above the water fountain, I noticed a production chart on the wall, and I tried to figure out how to read it. When I turned around to go back, I didn't see my class. At first, I felt scared, like I had been left behind, but then I decided to cut through some of the alleyways between the machines. I thought I would have a better chance of spotting my group. I tried that for a while, but I got lost. I had just read a book about some guy stranded in the desert who had eaten crayons and flour paste while waiting to be rescued. So I was wandering around in this big building, telling myself I would have to spend my life eating button paste, if there is such a thing, to stay alive until somebody found me. And then all of a sudden, our tour guide came tearing around the corner, furious. I was about to tell her how glad I was to see her when she picked me up by my coat lapel so that my toes were off the floor, and she pinned me against the wall. I'm not a really big girl, but still, she must have been strong. Her elbows knocked the breath out of me. "What are you doing snooping around here?" she asked. "How did you get away from the others?" I was scared, especially with her angry breath in my face and her arms pinning me into the wall. "I got a drink," I gasped. Her eyes stared down into mine, and she looked so cruel and angry that my fear came up in my throat, and I yelled for help. Just as quickly, she dropped me back onto the floor, and my teacher, Miss Creason, came around the corner. Miss Creason was stout and strong, and she coached girls' athletics. I was glad to see her. "Here's your lost girl," the tour guide said, her fierceness turning to sternness. "I caught her trying to play with one of the machines and pulled her back just in time." "Penny!" Miss Creason started to scold me. I could have spoken up right then, but I was so scared I didn't say a thing. I just let my teacher reprimand me. But then, when she saw how frightened I was, she must have thought she'd been too harsh. She just sort of fussed a little more, patted my hand, and brought me back to the group. But all through the rest of the miserable tour, I felt that tour guide's eyes on me. I was never so glad to get out of a place as I was to get out of that factory. And I was still so scared that I just tried to push everything out of my mind. I didn't tell anybody, not even my brother Jack, and I usually end up telling Jack just about everything. I didn't want to think about that woman and how cruel she looked. It wasn't until months later that I found out who she was.